Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacinta. If this is the first time here, thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys how to cut and sew this Bubu gown with bishop collar. If it's what you love to learn, kindly watch till the end. And if you're yet to subscribe, please hit on the subscribe button below and also turn on your notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's get started with this tutorial. This is the fabric I'll be using. It's an Ankara fabric and I'll be making use of 4 yards. I also have my lace for the combination. This is a paper lace. This is called a paper lace. Okay, I got 1.5 yard, but I didn't finish it, so I think 1 yard should be okay. And I also have lining for the lace. What I'm going to use to line the lace, this is doll face. I have 1 yard here. I'm going to be cutting the front and back piece together. So the first thing I'm going to do is to fold my fabric into 2. Then I'm going to determine the width of this fabric. That is the amount of fabric I need based on the wideness. Okay, the measurement I will use to determine that is the bottom part wideness. The measurements of the wideness at the full length, because this dress is going to be in form of A line, so you're going to determine the volume of the A line at the full length. Okay, so I'll be making use of 15 inches. So go ahead and input whatever measurement you want based on how wide you want that down part to be. After that, you're going to also mark your gown length, then you cut it out. You're going to cut 2 pieces of this. One will be for the front and one will be for the back. Please note that I'm working with a small body size. So I was done cutting out the amount of fabric I need, both in length and in width, and I've cut out 2 pieces of this fabric. Each of these pieces of fabric is 15 inches by width on fold, and the full length I'm working with is 51 inches. I added extra 1.5 inches, 1 inch for folding at the bottom part and 1/2 inch for joining the shoulders, making it 52.5 inches. So I'll fold it into 2, making sure that it is equal on all sides, both on the down part and on the 2 sides. Okay, and I'm also going to fold the second piece of fabric I have, and I'll place it on top of this one. I'm going to start inputting my measurements now. At the top, I'm going to roll a starting line. This starting line is also the shoulder line. Placing my tape on the shoulder line, I'll mark 9 inches downwards for my bust line and square across, and I'm also going to mark 15 inches downwards for my half length and square across. Placing my tape on the shoulder line, I'll mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches, and I'll mark the neck width of 2.5 inches. At the point where the shoulder measurement ended, I'm going to come downwards by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and connect it to the neck width. At the bust line, I'll also mark off of my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 inches, and connect it with a straight line to the shoulder slope. I'll mark the midpoint of this straight line. On that midpoint, I'll come in by 1/2 inch. I'll also mark 1 inch downwards from the shoulder line for my neck depth and connect with a curve. And on the bust line, I'll mark out of my bust circumference. I'll add 1.5 inches for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. I'll use my curved ruler to connect from the shoulder slope to the 1/2 inch I came in by to put up my bust circumference on the bust line to form my armhole curve. At the half length, I will mark out of my waist circumference, add on 1/2 inches for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then placing my tape on the half length, I will mark 8 inches downwards for my hip depth as square across. After rolling the hip line, I'm going to mark quarter of my hip circumference, add 1.5 inches for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. After marking, I'll connect it to the full length like so in form of A line, and I'll also connect the other measurement that I marked, then go ahead and cut this out. After cutting, I'll take out one piece to serve as the front. So if you take a look at the front neckline, you see that it has a normal C curved neckline and it has a V underneath. So I want the length of this neckline, both the curved and the V, to stop at 7 inches from my shoulder. So I marked 6.5. So when I turn it with my lining, it is going to be 7 inches. So the normal curved neckline is going to stop at 3 inches from the shoulder, and from that 3 inches, the V is going to stop at the 6.5 inches. So I'll make a little V to stop at that 6.5 inches. I'll connect the curve and I'll also connect the V and cut it out. After that, I'm going to cut the paper lace now. To do that, I'll fold it into two and place it on top of the front piece, making sure that the center of the front piece and that of the paper lace aligns. Use your pin to hold it down. Afterwards, I'm going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement and add extra half inch for turning. So I'll mark 4.5 inches from my armhole down to the full length. So on the armhole area, I am going to mark 6 inches downwards from the shoulder, and from that 6 inches I'm going to curve it in to my 4.5 inches like so. Then go ahead and cut it out. I was done cutting and this is what it looks like. I'm also going to turn it to the fabric side and cut the V neckline on the lace. Opening it up, this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to cut the lining for this lace. So I'll place the lining and the lace that I've cut out front facing front, then go ahead and cut it out. I was done cutting, so I want this dress to have pockets. To cut the pocket, I'll fold my fabric into two and mark 10 inches downwards for the length and 8 inches for the width. Then go ahead and cut it out. I'm going to cut two of this pocket piece. I'm also going to cut my sleeve, so I'm going ahead to fold my fabric into two and I marked a starting line. From that starting line, I'm going to mark the sleeve length. So the sleeve length I'm working with is 12 inches. Please note that the sleeve length I'm working with is not the sleeve length of the style I am recreating. Okay, my client requested for a shorter sleeve, so if you want to recreate that exact sleeve, you're going to be marking 16 inches for your sleeve length. Placing my tape at the top of this sleeve, I'm going to mark 4 inches downwards for my biceps line and square across. I'll get one of my dress pieces and measure the armhole. Whatever I get is what I'm going to mark on the biceps line. Then I'm going to curve from my biceps line to the top of my sleeve like so. I'll add extra 5 inches to my round sleeve measurement and divide it by 4 and mark whatever it gave me there, and I'll add extra 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. Then connect it to the biceps line and cut it out. I'll use this to cut the second sleeve. To cut the lace I will join on my sleeve, I'll fold my sleeve into two and I will also fold my lace into two and place it on the sleeve like so. I'll cut out the excess lace at the down part, and from that down part I'm going to mark 6 inches upwards for the length. I'll square across and add extra half inch for folding, then go ahead and cut it out. After cutting it out, I'll use the lace to cut the second lace for the other sleeve. So I've gone ahead to join the lace and its lining together using half inch. What I'm going to do now is to turn it to the right side and iron it. But before then I'm going to cut the facing I'll use to turn the V neckline. I was done cutting the facing. Now I'm going to turn the right side of this lace and give it a very good ironing. I was done ironing. I'm going to place it on the center front piece like this, making sure that the V of the main fabric and that of the lace are together. Then I'll use my office pin to hold it together. So I'm going to attach a bias on top of this lace. You can leave it this way if you wish. Just sew on top of the lace on both sides to join it with the fabric. So I'm going to be attaching my bias. To do that, I will place the bias on top of the lace and sew it on both sides of the bias. I'll do this for the two sides of the lace. I've sewn on one side of the bias. I'm going to sew on the other side. I was done attaching the bias on the two sides of the lace, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is to turn the V neckline, only the V neckline with my facing. Okay, so I'm going to place the front facing front with the center front, and I'm going to use half inch to join the facing and the main fabric together. While sewing, you're going to follow the shape of the V, okay? And also the sleeve, I'm going to be joining the lace to my sleeve at the upper part. I'm going to sew only at the upper part of the lace. I'll do this for the two sleeves. Always pin your work to avoid shifting. So I was done joining the V part. What I'm going to do now is to join the shoulders of the front and back piece together using half inch, and I'll also join, after joining the shoulders, I will join the sleeve. I will also fold the down part of the sleeve. I was done joining the shoulders and the sleeve. What I'm going to do now is to cut and attach the bishop collar. I'll place my neckline on fold, making sure that the shoulders are together. From one end, I'll mark 8 inches round. So when I open it up, it will become 16 inches. After marking the 8 inches, I'll go ahead and cut it out. After cutting, I will take the measurement just to make sure that it is 8 inches. Then I'll open it up, and this is what it looks like. When I opened it up, I took the measurement and it was exactly 16 inches. To cut the collar, I folded my collar gum into two like this, and with a curve, I measured 8 inches. Then I made a curve like this. The width is 1 inch. Then I went ahead to cut it out. I'm going to mark 8 inches on this lower part because that's where I'm going to be attaching to the neck of my dress. Then I'll cut it out. Opening it up, this is what I have. I'll take the measurement again to make sure that it is 16 inches. After cutting the collar gum, I'm going to place it on my lace and cut it out, and I'm going to add half inch on the sides, up and down, and the two sides for joining. I'm going to be cutting two pieces of this lace, and I'm also going to be cutting lining for the lace. After cutting the lining, I'm going to join it to one of the lace that I've cut out for the collar. I was done joining the lining to one of the lace collar piece. What I'm going to do now is to gum the collar stay on it, the one that is lined. Place the collar gum at the center so that the half inch that we're going to use to turn will still be there. After gumming, I'm going to fold the half inch I added on the down part of this collar. Okay, so go ahead and fold the half inch on this collar, or the down part of this collar. This is where I'm going to be joining on my neckline, on the neckline of my dress. So I'm folding it in with my hemming gum. Okay, and as you can see, I'm doing this on the lace that I lined. After folding it in, I'm going to place it front facing front with the second lace, and I'm going to join it both of them together using 1/2 inch. I'm going to pin it down, then I'll sew from here. You see where I'm touching? I'm going to sew from here all the way to the other side. I'm going to stop here. I was done joining. I'm going to turn it to the right side now and iron it. So before you turn it to the right side, make sure to trim those 1/2 inch so that it will not be too bulky. I did that off camera. So when you trim, you turn it to the right side and you iron. I was done ironing and this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to attach it to the neck of my dress. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to place this side that does not have gum on the wrong side of my dress. Do you understand? I'm going to place this part of the lace that does not have gum on the wrong side of my dress, that is at the back, and I'm going to use 1/2 inch to sew it round. I was done joining. What I'm going to do now is top stitch it on the right side. Okay, I'm going to top stitch on the right side. You see this part where we folded in, that is where I'm going to top stitch on at the right side. I'll go back to my machine and sew it round. I'll be back to show you guys. I was done with that and this is what it looks like. And see how beautiful it came out. What I'm going to do now is to join the two sides using the 1 inch allowance we added and then attach the pockets. To do that, I'll turn to the wrong side of this dress and place the two sides, the front and back sides together, and pin it down from the sleeve down to the full length. Placing my tape on the shoulder, I will mark 15 inches downwards. This is where the pocket is going to start from. I'm going to mark 15 inches downwards, which is the half length, and from that 15 inches, I'll mark 7 inches downwards. This is where the pocket is going to stop. I'm going to mark 1 inch from the sleeve and stop at that mark that I make, the 15 inches mark that I made. Then continue from the 7 inches. Okay, that is where the pocket will stop. Then afterwards, I'm going to do this for the two sides, and I'm also going to fold the hem using 1 inch. I was done joining the two sides. Last thing I'm going to do is to attach the pockets. I've turned to the wrong side of the dress. I'm going to get the pocket piece and attach it on the two sides of the allowance. I'm going to attach it on the two sides of the allowance. So just like the way you see me doing, that is how I'm going to sew the pockets to the dress. After attaching it to the dress, I'm going to close the two sides of the pocket piece. And that will be all for the cutting and sewing of this dress. So this is the final look of this Bubu gown. It came out really beautiful. If you find this video helpful and you've learned something, please give me a thumbs up and hit on that subscribe button. Also, do not forget to turn on your notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Just watching and see you guys in my next tutorial.